What the? It's not even letting me fucking play the intro. Okay, you know what? Fuck this fucking StreamYard site. Fuck it. Fuck it with a fucking belt sander. Okay, we'll just run without the intro.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstine with children or child porn, and there are hundreds of victims.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
Epstein list went from sitting on Pam Bondi's desk right now to there is no list in just a few months. The memo reads, through this review, we found no basis to revisit the disclosure of those materials and will not permit the release of child pornography.
Brain hurting. I want cookies and a 90-minute cut of Avatar.
There are tens of thousands. Yeah, sure.
Now, could I just interrupt? Sure. Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
This is Tin Man with the Resistance, TWWRN. If you are watching this, you are the Resistance. And I cannot believe that came out of his fucking mouth this morning. Like, seriously. The Democrats talk about wanting to punch this guy in the fucking face. Yeah, you kind of just gave him a valid reason. Hell, Trump just gave the entire world reason to fucking hate him. I mean, the Democrats were always pushing for it, saying, oh, he's a racist, no kings, all this made up shit. And all they had to do was just sit back and wait for him to shoot himself in the dick. Like, seriously, how dumb can you fucking be? You just sat there and had the globalists by the fucking balls. You had the gun to their fucking head. And instead of just pulling the trigger and getting rid of the globalists and prosecuting them and getting all these people locked up for the human trafficking and child slavery and everything else, you hand them the fucking gun on some bullshit pretext that you're gonna get them to roll over. You don't fucking get somebody to roll over by handing him the gun that you got to their fucking head, you orange moron. Seriously, I went on it earlier today. This guy literally just implicated himself as an accessory to human trafficking and the rape, torture, and murder of children, among many other crimes. Okay? And he thinks that the globalists are going to roll over. In fact, they're still pushing forward with their Summer of Love Civil War bullshit. Okay? They're still pushing forward with it. They're not going to stop, especially considering you just gave them the gun and implicated yourself, you orange fucking twit. And then Netanyahu came to the White House yesterday and said that he wants to nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Of course he did. Because if that list had come out, if the Epstein list had come out, guess who would have been implicated? Then many prominent figureheads in Israel. And a shit ton of ties to the Israeli government. Not anti-Semitism, just fact. How many fucking Israeli spies have we arrested and so on and so forth? Like, seriously. Fucking makes my head hurt, man.
About that, what did Obama do to get the Nobel Peace Prize? Nothing.
Bomb the shit out of people. They want to talk about human rights thing.
We give Barack Obama, United Nations, we give Barack Obama the Nobel Peace Prize for being voted black.
Yeah. I mean, whether you're Republican or Democrat, it's just kind of insane at this point. You know, how are you going to sit there and bury the biggest story of our age and turn it into the biggest cover-up since 9/11? Like, how big of an idiot do you have to be? And, you know, the Democrats are actually going to love this. Connor, you were talking about something before we went live. Go ahead and get into that about the AI Hitler translation speeches.
Oh boy, well see, with Tim Man goes with colors, he makes me regret wearing my sweater because I'm the orange nitwit now.
Oh,
It's okay.
no.
Because
You're
this
the
guy,
only one in orange that seems to have a brain today.
okay, so this is some interesting things, okay? And I'm totally coming into what you brought in, but I'm gonna segue into it because this is how I found what I'm about to discuss. So everybody's like, well, what would make him find that? Okay, so as these conflicts were brewing and continuing and so on and so forth, and it's all very tragic, and we'll split some hairs later. But as I'm doing my research, I find that like one of the things that there was an old Iranian president, okay? And this old Iranian president was saying things like he was explaining that many people of prominence, be it media, politics, banking, you guys already know what I'm going to say, and it's always like upsetting even when I think about it out loud. But he always points his fingers to Israel, and then you'll notice, and I guess this is me kind of trying to warp and shift the view of the population, and if that's the case, I do apologize. But you'll notice that when he says anything of the sort, the moment anybody openly criticizes Israel, the interviewer, in a great many of cases, will immediately say, so you blame the Jews. And it goes from I disagree with the Israeli governing policy to all the world's problems are the Jews. And it's almost like they want people to believe that that's our correlation, that, so on and so forth. So the guy, his response was that there will come a time where we won't be able to lie about it anymore. And he says, the computers will tell you the truth. Okay, now, the Iranian president, I wish I had I wish I was better prepared for this shit, okay? But the Iranian president of the time is not the current president, it's not the current Ayatollah. And I would be willing to say that it was the one just before, but like it could go like two presidents back, and right. So I don't know exactly which one it was, is what I'm getting at. But the man had said that the computers would tell us the truth. He said, just type it into the computers, and the computers won't lie. And I was like, dude, that's a lot of fucking faith for a human being to have for a machine, right? Okay, the president of Iran says computers won't lie. That segues into what I'm about to discuss today, because there would be like two or three like little secrets. We've all done it, fucking doom scrolling. What could I talk about? What could I bitch about today? Right? And as I'm scrolling, I hit that one with the president of Iran speaking, and then like 2 or 3 clips later, I get a reaction clip, and I was like, oh, and see, and it's a young. Okay, this is the fun part. The young African American male doing a reaction. Okay. You got to play games with me on this one, because it gets funny, sad, scary, all at the same time. So this young African American man is observing this speech that's being delivered by Adolf Hitler, leader of Germany of the time during World War II. And with today's technology, we're able to take a person's voice, synthesize it, and run it through a machine, and I can make that person's voice sound like anything I want. So I'm not going to negate the fact that what was created could be manipulated. So like, I don't want people to think that I'm just brainwashing everything I see, I believe. I won't negate the fact that something like what I've witnessed could be manipulated. I'll give that to the arguing population. So, because I was always lazy, because I never asked anybody to do it. I never did anything in this nature, but no one ever actually, quote unquote, demonstrated to me or showed me Adolf Hitler's speeches during World War II translated into English so that I could understand what the man was saying when he was saying it, right? Well, what these people did was they took Adolf Hitler's speech and ran it through AI. Now, the reason why I apply any amount of weight, the fact that any of this holds any water in my consciousness, is because I don't believe, at least not at this point, and read my motherfucking screen name, John Connor. I don't believe at this point that the AI is making decisions that would sociologically or in a geopolitical manner change anything. Not yet. Only because I don't believe the AI has figured out that we are that sophisticated of a creature where like you have to galvanize us a certain way to make us get angry in a different direction, to send us to war. I don't think the AI's got us mapped out in that way. Not yet.
So AI translated Hitler's speeches. Was it just one speech or all of his speeches?
Well, the one that I saw was a quick excerpt. I'm about to go and look for the full translated speeches to really sink my teeth into it now that I know they exist. But in essence,
but what you told me, I'm sorry to cut you off. I just kind of want to add some commentary to this, to what you're about to share with us. Liberals are going to fucking love this because what you were telling us about the segment you heard in this speech and what he was doing with the book burning is very interesting, and liberals are going to fucking eat this shit up. The Democrats are going to eat this alive. They are going to love this. They are going to cream themselves and masturbate through the streets in joy of what you are about to share with us.
And this is the point. So now that we have all of that backup shit, now that we know where I found it, how I found it, I'm going to go about and explain what this thing did. The young African-American male is giving a reaction to a video that he's watching, which is Adolf Hitler delivering a speech. But it's as though he is observing the man in real time delivering a speech in English, not dubbed German reading on the bottom, not like an anonymous voice over from German to English. No. We live in the future. The AI translated German to English and made it sound like Adolf Hitler was speaking in English. And then the speech goes on to explain that he believed that he was the only man that was going to stand between Christianity and the Jews and all of the perverse natures that was being brought into his country. And he went all the way into explaining that things like homophobic, that homophilia, things like that, just the gay stuff, the pedophilia stuff, the all of that dark stuff that the conservative Christian would prefer to not discuss during daylight hours or at all. All of that stuff that we would call it immoral sin, all the things that we know that the Talmud teaches is the better way of living life, all of that was smut, and that he was going to burn it out of his country. His book.
So basically saying that Hitler would be anti-LGBTQ.
Very much so, in every absolute sense of the way. And he went on to explain.
Democrats, eat your fucking heart out. You should have translated Hitler's speeches years ago.
Right.
You now have a correlation between Hitler and Trump. You now have your evidence to say Trump is Hitler. And I've always kind of railed against that. Trump wasn't racist. That was just leftist bias, made up bullshit. But now, our friend Connor just happened across the evidence that nobody else, even the Democratic Party, could find to substantiate this claim that has been propagated for the past 9 years.
So here's where it gets
You have just become the hero of the Democratic Party in the West.
So here's where it all becomes real fucking dicey. Okay? I learned this about this speech. I learned that this is why he's expelling the Jewish people from Germany. I learned now that it is his overwhelming Christian quote unquote duty. I never said the man was sane. I never said I agreed with Adolf Hitler. What I was trying to
You're
figure
just
out,
observe and report.
I wanted to understand from the very beginning why the Jews have been kicked out of 109 fucking countries over the world of history, and ain't not one motherfucker out there gonna tell me why. So he said why. If that speech was adequately translated without human bias involved, without any nonsense attached to it, if the machine just took German words and translated them into English dialect, and then through the great power of speech and AIs and so on and so forth, pieced this little piece together for us, if this translation is only 10% correct, or 25% correct. If this translation is loosely correct, we learned that Adolf Hitler had a Christian value. He was against anything that was the rainbow, and the rainbow got so far out of hand in the West that they with the transgenderism and like all that stuff and the child mutilation and so on and so forth, that we really started to look at the rainbow like an act of evil and not just a couple of consenting adults wanting to have fun, right? So, and what Adolf Hitler was saying, that what starts with a couple of adults having fun, what starts as a brothel with a couple of naked ladies, turns into people chopping your children's dicks off. And we called him crazy. So this now that we know this is the young African American male
doing and saying the same thing.
Right. So the young African American male is watching this and realizes what Hitler is saying, and he looks at his buddy and goes, "We were on the wrong side of that war."
Wow, and this came from an African American young man.
Yes, who sided with Adolf Hitler's debate. That all by itself, it's like
that's mind blowing in and of itself.
Yeah, like that really. And then, and I, like we said it earlier, I was like, did we notice? Like, I don't know if any of our viewers have noticed this, because like if they're watching us, then they have their fingers on the right research topic. So the algorithm's probably tailored reasonably the same. And it's like, am I the only one that got like a substantial uptick of anti-Israeli videos go through my live stream over the last 2-3 days?
I don't know about that, but I want to get back to
Joe
Trump,
Rogan.
you know.
Even Joe Rogan is anti-Israel now. Even like what I'm talking about, like all these big boys that didn't talk about this are becoming anti-Israeli politics. Now this is where it gets really lit. And Trump.
Joe Rogan, Candace Owens, Alex Jones, he's very specific that he is not anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish. He's just anti-Israeli government, which is interesting that Trump suppresses the Epstein pedo shit, and then Netanyahu comes to the White House and proposes and nominates Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. After we literally just, and you know, which is interesting considering we literally just got done explaining how Israel has been tied to pedophilia, and it's no secret that they're part of the whole Epstein debacle. And then all of a sudden, Trump suppresses the case that could potentially damage prominent government officials in Israel, as well as many others. He suppresses those documents and that case, makes it go bye-bye. And then Netanyahu, who initially was just a few weeks ago talking shit on Trump, saying that he didn't do a good enough job in Iran, is now joining Alex Jones in tongue-punching Trump's fart box.
And it gets even worse because now that I've explained everything about like what Adolf Hitler's speeches was and tralali, tralala, book burnings being all that and good stuff, why did Donald Trump suppress the client list? What was the official reason released to the public?
The official reason, I don't know what the official reason was. I played the declarations that were posted on X and other subsequent publications, that they just weren't moving forward. But from what I had seen on the Alex Jones show yesterday and today, and a lot of prominent people are correlating this idea and agreeing with Jones, is that he was using the Epstein case and all those documents as a method of putting the proverbial gun to the globalists' heads and an attempt to blackmail them and get them to roll over. And then they said, okay, we'll roll over, but you got to give us the blackmail and implicate yourself in the process. So he gave them the blackmail, expecting that they were going to roll over. And we both know that's not going to happen. So he literally shot himself in the foot and handed them the gun and said, okay, play nice, like a fucking idiot.
Well, I think I know.
I swear to God.
I think I know.
I swear to fucking God. I'm sorry. Let me finish my thought.
Yeah.
I have said this many times. I am not for Trump. I am not against Trump. I am simply holding a motherfucker's feet to the fire. I do it to Alex Jones. I do it to Trump. I will do it all day long. If Alex Jones and the resistance are the tip of the spear, the people, we the people, are the ones with our hand on the spear, guiding its direction and path. Okay, we're the ones holding Trump's feet to the fire, and I'll hold his fucking feet to the fire. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, I am neither for or against Trump. I am just calling balls and strikes. And I will say this, I have been very outspoken, that Trump was not a king. He wasn't a dictator. It was either one of two things. He is either anti-globalist and is a complete fucking moron, or he is a globalist puppet put in place to not only completely discredit the Democratic Party, but also his own Republican Party and his own MAGA movement, to the point to where the government as a whole, throughout its entire system, is completely discredited in conjunction with dividing the people with the divide and conquer narrative, sparking the civil race war to usher in a complete collapse of the United States government and financial system. That's my opinion. He's either set to fucking dismantle the whole goddamn thing by divide and conquer and complete discredit, or he's anti-globalist and he's a complete fucking moron.
I think there's a thing in the middle there, that because this thought's literally coming to my brain as we're discussing, and I was like, in my head, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, why does anybody do anything that hurts themselves, right?
Yeah.
For instance, like, he did learn something during, and this isn't like a smart remark or a pot shot or anything like that. When the attempted assassination took place and there was blood on the ear and he was, quote unquote, in distress, we'll say, there was a lot of traction that came with that. And then I asked myself, what, if I'm so anti-Israel and if I'm so anti-Zionism and I understand their power and their reach and what they can do, and to the point where it's like there's certain theories that I'm getting into that I'm realizing that I think fucking Zionist Israel is actually who assassinated JFK, which is why we don't speak of that assassination either.
That whole thing was supposed to come out too and never did.
Yeah, well, this is what was happening. I guess it's all about figuring out what was going on.
Part 2. Okay, 3 strikes, motherfucker.
Right. Well, USS Liberty would have been the second strike, but this is what was going on during JFK's presidency. Check this.
No, I'm talking about Trump releasing these files. He was going to release JFK and he was going to release the Epstein shit, both of which he faltered on.
Right. So check. Then I'm looking.
That's strike 2.
Yeah. So what JFK was doing, right, during his presidency before he was assassinated, is he wasn't letting Israel have the bomb. He wanted UN inspectors inside of that Dimona reactor, whatever it is that they do their stuff. And I saw
that this morning.
Right. He wanted a heavy policing over nuclear weapons in the Middle East, regardless of the religion in question that had it. So the Muslims, the Jews, and JFK's brain, that didn't fucking matter. No nukes in the Middle East. And all of a sudden, JFK got killed. And after he was killed, everything just kind of started to happen for Israel. Right. So I found that interesting because there's a piece of history, again, that ties an American tragedy with Israel moving forward. And this is where it gets really dicey, because if I'm right, then Donald Trump will have successfully done something that even JFK couldn't do. Don't be surprised if Trump gets killed. Now, the sniper won't miss. And it's not because I'm making a threat of, no, goodness, no. I understand the situation at play. The way I saw it, and the way that it was explained to me when I was listening to the person that was doing the fucking cast, Donald Trump is not suppressing the client list. He's outright stating that there is no such thing as a client list. So he's literally saying it no longer exists. That's where he screwed himself, because he could have just said, I have to lock it away. Like, it's now top secret, just like the JFK files. No one can see it, right?
Yeah, everybody's saying it's like, hey, you should have just stopped talking about it and just hoped it went away. But to say 6 months ago, yeah, it's on Pam Bondi's desk. Oh, it got forwarded to the FBI. Oh, blah, blah, blah. We're doing this, that, and the other. Then to turn around and say, oh, we don't have anything. Nothing exists.
Right. And then they choose to.
It's like the Joker. It's like that scene from the Dark Knight.
And here's
with the whole thing with the Joker and the pencil. Yeah. The whole magic trick thing. It's like, hey, can we see the Epstein list and see some prosecutions? How about a magic trick?
Well, you know,
make these Epstein files disappear.
It's not going to disappear. I really think. Did you see the video where Donald Trump was mad at Israel for bombing the Gaza Strip the way that it was, or the West Bank? Like he's like, you got 12 hours to.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Yes, okay, I saw it. Everybody did.
And he was pissed about that, wasn't he? Like, quite legitimately upset. I think he just slapped Israel back, and I really think only smart people are going to catch the play. Are you ready?
Okay, let's hear this. I'm not buying it.
He literally said that they're suppressing the Epstein information, for lack of a better word, due to their fear that it will have a rising wave of anti-Semitism. Think about that. Donald Trump stated that this information, if released, will bring a rise to anti-Semitism. But the whole world knows that it's a pedo list.
Yeah, so we know the pedo list exists, and now you're declaring that it would cause anti-Semitism, which implicates Israel in so many words. He literally just implicated Israel in the Epstein list. He should have just kept his fucking mouth shut. He literally just fucking handed the world the gun and said, hey, Israel did it.
He just pulled an Adolf Hitler with the I'm going to burn all the gay books and the this and the that, by declaring that the release of the file would bring on a rise of anti-Semitism. Trump just called Israel a bunch of pedos.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because we as a nation, I should say, under Trump, just kind of fizzle out Gay Pride Month, which, by the way, is actually originally Men's Mental Health Month. So, fuck anybody who would negate the mental health of any human being to subjugate it for something else. Do not disregard the mental health of people. There are a lot of people who are really on the brink in this day and age who really need that recognition and that attention and go, hey, are you okay?
Man, I got psychiatric diagnoses against me, and I'm just happy that I'm okay, because I know what it feels like when I'm not okay, and I see people that are not okay, and it's just heartbreaking.
It is. And and men's mental health in particular kind of has gotten pushed to the back burner. And June was actually initially Men's Mental Health Month. And then it became Gay Pride Month, which, you know, I'm not opposed to,
Well, it's kind of a tit for tat.
you know, having multiple things for multiple months, you know, but don't let one overshadow the other as far as I'm concerned. But as far as the whole gay pride and LGBTQ community and the Pride Month and everything, you know, that kind of got trotted into the dirt, especially considering, you know, we were so anti-pedo and, you know, we didn't want our kids being subjected to adult material in school. You know, you're talking about teaching gay history in school. You know, that's kind of a adult thing, you know, and there was a lot of pornographic stuff that, you know, people were getting in trouble for reading it at public school board meetings because it was so graphic. You know, it's like, oh, this is not appropriate for a public meeting, but yet it was appropriate for elementary school students. You know, a lot of people had problems with that. A lot of people had problems with things like drag queen story time and stuff like that. You know, they didn't want it being subjected to their kids. And, you know, for the most part, I think the majority of people are fine with people being gay or engaging in any number of private activities within their own home. But, you know, certain things shouldn't be in the public eye, especially exposed to kids. You know, like the other day, that ICE agent in California got caught taking a piss in the schoolyard. Okay.
You gotta wait till I'm not drinking. For the most part, something like that.
Yeah, we're against people in general, especially kids, being exposed in inappropriate ways to adult content, for lack of a better term. But yet it's okay because it's gay pride and gay acceptance, okay, and gay tolerance. Okay, we had a little thing about tolerance back in the 90s too, you know, because of the going back to the Jewish thing. But we don't teach Jewish history in school anymore. Oh, wait. Why is that? Oh, wait. Could it be because this is Jewish history and we don't want that in school? Like, I mean, there is a very big double standard there. And I'm not being anti-gay, but we have to acknowledge the fact. I mean, do whatever the fuck you want to do. But I think for the most part, people don't want it done in public and they don't want it done in front of their kids. And they don't want their kids subjected to it.
I thought it was.
But yet now we suppress. We don't want anything remote that could be remotely considered pedophilia in society. But yet we just suppressed the client list and in the entire case that would effectively doomsday everybody involved in the pedophilia push movement. Can somebody explain that to me, please?
That's what I mean.
It's equivalent to the carrot over the donkey's nose bullshit. Carrot on the string bullshit. Here you go. Try to get donkey. Try to get the donkey. I guess carrot moo. That kind of bullshit, you know.
Yeah, it is bullshit. And you know, Trump's sitting there going, "Oh, you're all still talking about Epstein." It's like, yeah, you just fucking suppressed the damn thing not 48 hours ago. And he said they're like, "Oh, all these our country's doing all these good things, and there's all these other things going on. You want to talk about Epstein?" Kind of reminds me of Obama's big shiny balls. Remember that? It's like, don't look at this. Don't look at any of the bad things that people are pointing out. Look at all the shiny balls.
Yep. That's exactly what's going on. And it's messed up, dude. It's messed up. But that's that's the geopolitics of it all is getting really crazy. And it could, kind of going with what they were saying. There's a reason why everything's going to shit too. In one respect, right? Like goes hand in hand. Like Men's Mental Health Month. Do you know who used to fight for that for us? Men's Mental
Who?
Health was never put together by a fucking group of men, at least not a group of fucking straight men. I promise you, the Men's Mental Health Month was something that was recognized by the women of the men in the livelihoods. It would be the women that would have been like raising awareness for men's mental health, because when you're fucked up and half gone, like you don't even know you're fucked up and half gone. So you can't be like, yo, I need you to pay attention to me. I'm having a moment. No, man, that shit's gay, right? So we didn't. We didn't do this for us. So it was the women that took care of us. It was the women that made sure that we were recognized for our men's mental health. It is our wives that was taking care of us. And look at what we did for the women in return. As hard as we tried to fight to make sure that at least the fucking bathrooms were safe, we kind of failed. So it's almost like tit for tat. We failed them on the bathroom and they failed us on the mental health month. And nobody did any of it on purpose, because you can't win every fight you fight.
Yeah, it's like that song by Tom McDonald. I think I mentioned it on the round table before. I at least mentioned it somewhere recently. The end of that song, The System. It doesn't matter what you choose because everything is mine. I'm the system. I'm the system. It doesn't matter what you choose because everything is mine.
The fact that you have a choice is the fact that you have a choice is the hardest part for people to realize. That's when you know you're not free. Everybody thinks that choice equals freedom. Who's giving you the option to choose? Because that person has control of
the illusion of choice, the illusion of control.
Unless the person or thing that's offering you a choice is quite literally God himself. And how would that happen in the real world? What would that look like, Connor? You have two trees in front of you. One's an orange tree, one's an apple tree. And you're allowed to eat from any fucking tree you want, orange or apples. That's the choice. It's yours to do. Do it. Who gave you that choice? God himself. No other man above me gave me the choice between the apples and the oranges. So for as long as we as human beings have a choice at anything, we have to observe who is making us choose. Because that's the person that has the power. Another way to look at it is, who are you not allowed to criticize? You live in China, you can't criticize the Chinese. If you live in Russia, it's not advantageous to you. It would be actually bad for your health to, criticize Vladimir Putin. If you lived in Adolf Hitler's Germany, it wouldn't be considered wise to criticize Adolf Hitler. But if you live in the United States of America, who are you not allowed to criticize? Because this entire podcast was us criticizing the president of the United States. And if this was any other country, we'd already be dead. So who are we not allowed to criticize? Israel
and gays.
Yeah, at least, and then you find out, unfortunately, that it's like one in. Oh man, I'm gonna get. Okay, they want to know what anti-Semitism is. Okay,
yeah, Israel. You cannot criticize Israel. You cannot criticize the LGBTQ community, and you cannot criticize or have any negative connotations towards a minority, even if they have done something illegal or any sort of negative connotation.
That's right. So
I would like to throw in a comment here.
So where does the power lie?
Before the whole LGBT bullshit, back in the day, you had LGBT for the longest time, And during the 70s, you had drag queens and drag kings. What are drag kings? Women dressing like men.
Yeah.
What are drag queens? Men just like women. Some drag queens did Vegas shows.
Yeah, they were adult shows. They were adult themed shows. So why you think, so I can understand why a lot of people are upset that they don't want their 3, 4, and 5-year-olds subjected to somebody dressed up like a drag queen teaching their little kid how to twerk.
Well, all of us adult men were raised in a world where if you weren't 18, you couldn't watch the booby channel. That's been like cemented in our brains. Like there is an age before we can discuss the nature of what the entirety of this subject is, from the scientific to the fun. There's a huge gradient there, and we were raised that we don't discuss that at the dinner table. We don't discuss that in school. We have an age to where sex ed is. You're not allowed to learn sex ed until you're at a certain age and grade in school. We were all raised this way, and then all of a sudden they literally told us to do the exact opposite of what we were raised to do. You learned it in grade 5, but I'm teaching it in kindergarten. Deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think anybody's really arguing, if you were gay, that's a bad thing. What you do in the privacy of your own home and in your own bedroom is perfectly fine.
It shouldn't affect me.
But don't sit there and walk down the street shaking your fucking dick in a fucking parade in front of kids and then fucking get pissed off at an ICE agent for taking a piss behind a bush. Granted, that shouldn't have happened, but it's a fucking double standard. It's a hypocritical double standard because of a narrative.
It will always be a double standard, no matter what.
Yeah.
See, like one's celebrating a natural urge, the other one's tending to a natural urge. This should have been basic. Celebrating sex, and to take a piss, natural urges.
Yeah, I mean, we all love sex, and we all love to take a fucking monster piss and relieve ourselves. We all love it. And if you gotta go, and you can't get to a bathroom, you make the best of the situation until you can get to a bathroom, or you fucking find someplace out of the way to take a piss, behind a tree or behind an alley or whatever. Yeah. We've all fucking done it.
Every
human being on the fucking planet who's had to fucking take a piss has either fucking gone behind a fucking bush and whipped it out or fucking popped a squat. Hell, I know of women who have fucking been driving down the road for fucking hours and then fucking stopped on the side of the highway when nobody was around and fucking popped a squat behind the car.
Right?
Okay, it happens.
It happened, by the way. One of the last roundtables.
Back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, you had female actresses like Greta Garbo. She was bisexual, and she wore suits, short slacks and trousers, and there's a scene where she's wearing a top hat and a outfit, and she's kissing a woman.
Yeah, and Targeted by Narcs just popped in and said the ones shaking their naked asses in front of children are those at those pride parades are what the real LGBT community calls gay agitators. They are there to create division.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, even in the gay community, and I thank Targeted by Narcs for chiming in on this. And for those of you who don't know, Targeted by Narcs, it is gay. Robin, am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So don't nobody go Targeted by Narcs saying she's anti-gay. This woman is gay. And she's coming out and saying this. Okay, there are good gay people.
There's good Jews too. Like, you just gotta be careful.
Exactly.
She is my dear friend, and I love dearly. She's dear to my heart as one hell of a good friend of mine. I'm like, man,
Yeah, she's good people. We had a 4-hour roundtable last night discussing her story about being targeted in gang stalking and whatnot. It was, for those of you who haven't seen that, go back and watch that. It's last week's live video. You can find it on the roundtable.
Yeah, go back
and you can find it on the live feed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she said she came out over 25 years ago. So, I mean, you have even people in the gay community who are saying, what's being propagated is not okay. And I think most people in the gay community would say, what we do in our own homes is our own business. Beyond that, it's just people getting stupid about shit, trying to create contention and division.
My son took me to a gay pride parade, and I was watching. I'm sitting there. Hey, all it is people enjoying being themselves, man. You know, hey, be yourself. You know, hey.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody would oppose of anybody being themselves, so long as that is within a socially acceptable context. And I don't mean an anti-gay context. I mean, like, hey, you know, don't be sitting there giving your partner a golden shower in the middle of the street kind of thing.
We're trying to raise some children here. And there's an entire community actually inside of the transgender community that is coming out and like, they're like, dude, like, leave the kids alone. It's making us look bad. There's an entire, like, there's a splinter section of the older transgender people who like really went through it for real reasons. Maybe it was a car crash and it was easy to make them the opposite gender because there were too much burns, or I always use that one as
somebody who decided they wanted to do she-male porn.
Anything, whatever the case may be, but these people did it.
You don't see those people out in the fucking street.
No, exactly. So, and I wanted to come full circle because it's almost my time to devote for a minute. But in essence, last roundtable we discussed the whole like weapons transfer and how this could go bad, and we discussed this right after Donald Trump had hit the nuclear sites in Iran, or the supposed nuclear sites in Iran. Okay.
Yes.
And I had said that this creates a really big problem because the reason that this would be that I said that what I was going to say wouldn't traditionally make sense if the war in Ukraine wasn't happening. But because the United States, Canada, and a great many of other nations gave a shit ton of weaponry, defensive tanks, planes, everything to Ukraine to help the Ukrainians against the Russians. Okay, so I'm not mincing words. Russia now had in its arsenal the ability to do something to the United States that would not normally have happened. So, and my example here was because the United States was funding weapons to Russia's enemies, Russia could in turn do the same. So they could look at any one of the Middle Eastern countries that would be considered the United States' enemy, and they could look at them and be like, we're going to help you. We're going to give you weapons. When I said that in the last roundtable, it was pure theory. Last week, Vladimir Putin just acknowledged that selling a nuclear warhead to Iran is not off the table. That if, in essence, if the United States' main goal is to prevent Iran from getting the bomb, Russia was very quick to illustrate that Iran does not need to make a bomb, that they could just sell them one.
Or even give them one.
And then it's not a far stretch, because if they were to do exactly what the Americans are doing to them, the Americans are giving weapons to the Ukrainians and intelligence, telling them when and where and how to use the weapons that are given to them. If Russia chooses, it can give Iran a nuclear weapon. It can then tell Iran, you must use it on this American target and on this day. And Iran will, you mean I get to nuke Americans? I don't care when. You're telling me I'm allowed to be the one to push the button in retribution for all the pain of Gaza and for all the Muslims killed in the war on terror and for all. The Muslim man gets to be the first one to hit it. The Ayatollah of Iran gets to be the one to decide when we launch. They're not going to say no. They're going to take that weapon and they're going to take the power. And I'm telling you, there's only a couple of times a year when Taiwan can get invaded. We discussed it in the past with the risings of tides and this and that. We timed the exact date, and I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming. Iran's going to be the one to start it, and as soon as it starts, China's going to take Taiwan, Russia's going to take Ukraine, and we're all going to be sitting here with our dicks in our hands, and we're going to have one choice. The rest of the world is going to put down our rabid dog known as Israel, or we will be commanded to do it ourselves. Why does
and
Trump
I noticed
the Golden Dome?
Go ahead.
Why does Donald Trump need the Golden Dome? He needs it. Like I need it. You need it. The entire Western world. We need the Golden Dome. What happens if the Americans' opinion of Israel truly do change? What if the Americans decide that no, we're not helping Israel and Israel's allowed to fall? What if the Americans just say they're done? Well, the Israelis, they have this thing. It's called the Samson option. And it's an agreement that I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but you've heard of Russia's dead hand?
Yes.
The Israelis have a similar one. They have X amount of nuclear warheads pointed at X amount of countries, and if they go down, they bring the world with them. And it's the operation is called the Samson option. The only way the United States can take a political shift against. Go ahead.
The second option is Israel's deterrence strategy, massive retaliation with nuclear weapons as a last resort against a country whose military has invaded and or destroyed much of Israel. Commentators have also employed the term to refer to a situation where non-nuclear, non-Israel actors have threatened conventional weapons retaliation. The name of this reference is the biblical judgment. The name of the reference to the biblical Israelite judge Samson, who pushed apart the pillars of the Philistine temple, bringing down the roof and killing himself. Thousands of Palestinians who captured him.
Yeah, the guy whose hair got cut. So that's their military option. We need the Golden Dome because we're on that target list.
Yeah.
If the United States chooses to A, just pull out all aid to Israel, or B, do away with Israel, then their missiles are coming our way. We're going to have to intercept it. We're not going to have a choice. It's going to have to be intercepted in space.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. I find it interesting. You know, you were talking a little bit ago about, you know, Iran getting pissed off at us and being excited. It's like, hey, I get to push the big red button. You know, they're even more inclined now, considering Russia has been unequivocally open about being anti-globalist, and Israel being a part of that globalist system. And now it's out that Trump just protected Israel by suppressing the Epstine files under anti-Semitism. Yeah, you think that ain't going to piss off Iran and their allies? You know, especially after all this anti-LGBTQ stuff. And, you know, Targeted by Narcs pointed out a few minutes ago, said, yes, 100%. We just want to be left alone. I haven't been to a pride parade since 2000. It was in New York City before 9/11 happened. And it says, there are pedos in every community, even straight.
That's right.
And she said, Diane Wolvari, the trans Budweiser spokesman, was on BlackRock's payroll. He was a gay agitator and also a PSYOP, a weapon of mass distraction. That's one example of how corporations create division. So this isn't anti-gay. This is anti-people. This is evidently anti-people, anti-children, anti-family, and anti-traditional Western ideologies. Israel has stated unequivocally that the Gentiles are Israel's bitch. That the Gentiles, anybody who is not a Jew, their sole purpose in existence is to be servant in servitude to the Jew.
The best
they
of the
have said that unequivocally. That's not anti-Semitism. That is their own public declarations. They hate the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's their religious
now you have them tied to pedophilia and Epstein, which Trump just suppressed, which, you know, and anti-Israel and anti-homosexual countries like Iran are now going to be looking at us going, kill the infidel.
Wait, what was Epstein Jewish?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Me. That's a solid question.
Look it up real quick. Google search. Was Epstein Jewish?
Well, or just do this.
I do not
Is
believe he
Epstein a
was,
Jewish
but
last
they're...
name? Because his name is Jeffrey Epstein. So is Epstein a Jewish last name? What's the root?
That's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, Revan.
That's why we kick him
Target
around.
my nerds. Notice you do not see the drag queen reading hour. It was rolled out to create division. Even old school LGBTQ folks thought that was insane bullshit. That should not be happening. Again, even the gay community is saying this is fucking pedo bullshit.
I told you, there's a community inside that community that they're protecting us. They're doing their fucking damnedest to protect us, right? But like, they're just
probably
doing
more in line with Trump's policy on the matter than anybody.
Right, like they're doing to us what we did for them. Like when gay people came out of the closet, we just stood behind them and were like, bro, it's okay to be gay. Like that doesn't bother me, it doesn't scare me. And now they stand behind us.
Oh, Revan, go ahead.
Jewish. He was born to Jewish parents in Brooklyn, New York.
Son of a bitch!
You all heard it here first, I guess.
His family roots is children of.
We broke that news.
His family had roots as children in Jewish immigrants that lived in a predominantly Jewish neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York. Grew up in Seagate, a permanent community in Coney Island, which had a significant Jewish presence and shit. His upbringing including Jewish culture, community life. His family was involved in local Jewish institutions.
Yeah.
Damn.
Fuck. See, that's why
and that's the answer. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's why Trump suppressed the Epstein files.
Yep.
Apart from the fact that he fucking said it himself.
And that's what, that would totally be a huge wave of anti-Semitism. The fact that Jeffrey Epstein is Jewish and there's an entire list about pedos and the light of the Talmud is coming to light. Like people are reading this thing out loud. Like it's happening slowly, but it's happening. People are talking about it and they can't get away from it. And then the Israeli military, what it's done as of just recent, they can't hide from it. They got their own soldiers blowing the whistles on them now. It was an Israeli soldier. We're not saying that is okay. The news is not saying that Israel was targeting civilians for nothing. The information came from an Israeli soldier that blew the whistle. That's why they're talking about it. They're not talking about it because people think that they're targeting civilians. Someone who was asked to target civilians came out and said they're targeting civilians. The backpedaling now is that this is what the Israeli government is saying to try and justify the targeting of civilians. Okay, is that always remember that Hamas was a democratically elected political party. It's no different than any other country saying the Republicans are a terrorist organization. Okay, it's a government. The United States democratically elected Donald Trump, whether it was rigged or not. The sheer fact that there was an election that could be rigged is the part of freedom. And so to say that the Republican Party would be terrorists, that would make Donald Trump the leader of the terrorists. Okay, well, Hamas is the Republican or the Democrat or what of their country. They were democratically elected. They're not just a ragtag band of rebels. They were a government. And then their country got fucked up, and what's left of them is still what's left of them, but they were democratically elected during a time of war to fight this war. You know, like how if a war broke out in the United States, just like that overnight, Donald Trump would stay president until it was over, right? Democratically elected president, right? To fight and win this war. That's
emergency wartime powers.
That's right. So Hamas is a government. It's not a terrorist organization. So that's fucking huge to me. That's also what separates the Worldwide Resistance Network from fucking crackpot conspiracy theorists, is that like we try really hard to make sure that people know terrorists are terrorists. You know, like fucking Osama bin Laden, CIA, whatever, call it a terrorist. These little ragtag groups that belong to Iran that are proxies, call them terrorists. I get it. But Hamas was a democratically elected political party that was then later deemed a terrorist organization during a state of war.
I had a friend who I was talking to the other day bring up that they believed that Anonymous was a terrorist group, and they brought this up because I was talking to them, and they had recently found out that TWBRM was back, and they were concerned for my well-being and the well-being of anybody around me. Because my affiliation with Anonymous, or being anti or saying anything against Trump or any subsequent power, is gonna fucking disappear me and fucking blacklist me. And I looked it up. Anonymous is actually not a terrorist organization. You Google search, is Anonymous a terrorist organization? And it says no, that it's not a terrorist organization, if for no other reason that, one, they haven't engaged in any acts of violence for political means, and they have no centralized leadership. And and I told my friend, if Trump is Hitler, or we're facing off against a fascist dictatorship, like the globalists who want to wipe out the majority of the human population, the vast majority of us are probably on our way to the fucking death camps and the gas chambers, regardless of whether we speak up or not. So if I'm on my, if 75 to 99% of us are on our way to the gas chamber, I'm sorry, but you know what? I'm going to go kicking and screaming. I will die on my feet before I die on my fucking knees. And that's just where I stand.
Well, that's what it looks like. That's where it looks like it's going. It's just unless we can shake the American cage fast enough. That's the big start.
That's what a lot of people were wanting with Trump. Why they were so excited about getting the JFK files and the Epstein files released. Because it was going to be the noose around the globalists' necks. They thought, most people, and myself included, thought that if Trump got in office, since they tried to kill him, that he was gonna have that fire under his ass, and he was gonna go after the globalist, and he was gonna go Vlad the Impaler on the globalists, and have them raised up on fucking spikes on the White House lawn. And I think that's what most people who probably voted for Trump wanted, was this guy to fucking literally destroy the globalists. I'm not advocating for violence, but I'm saying, even just as a fucking euphemism, we wanted to see the globalist system destroyed, whether literally or figuratively. And we agreed to this idea, with Trump being in office. A lot of people got behind the idea. Okay, peaceful revolution, or as Connor, as you put it many years ago, a renaissance, a peaceful renaissance. But my question is, with Trump doing this, pretty much shattering the faith of the American people, especially his supporters, at what point do we go and say, okay, obviously this guy doesn't seem to be even wanting to get the job done? When does it go from peaceful revolution or a peaceful renaissance to a violent 1776 style revolution? How much longer can the people hold out and go, will you please just do the job that you were elected to do and destroy the globalist system? Before the people go, okay, you're not going to do it peacefully. We're obviously going to have to do it. And there's only one way we know how to do it, and that's 1776 style. At what point do we go from, do the people cross that line?
I don't think it's going to be the people that do it. Well, it will be the people that do it, because it's good. This is where the history part's going to repeat itself. Everybody wants to call Donald Trump Adolf Hitler, but he's just, no. What you're going to see, this is what's going to happen. You're going to see somebody run on a anti-trans. I'll say trans. I don't think they'll get a lot of headway with anti-gay. Gay's too normal, for lack of a better explanation, right? It's been around. It's the gays have never hurt us. The gays have never tried to touch the children. You know what I mean? So it's going to be hard to go on an anti-gay platform.
They're being incorporated into it, but But
right, but it would be an
like Targeted by
anti-trans.
Narcs was saying, it's not them.
No, an anti-trans, and not even anti-trans. It's going to be like protect the children. The person that runs on a political platform that's like protect the children, right? From that kind of ideological stuff being taught in schools, and so we water it down a little bit. The person who runs on that political platform, that person will be closer to Adolf Hitler than Donald Trump. What they need, this is what they need. This is what they need. This is what is required. Because we all want to put the globalist system to bed, right? We all want it to just die. But it's like, as we speak, we forget that this system isn't just going to give up. It's not going to roll over and die. It's going to fight back. It's going to strike back. Unless we do it in a way where it can't, where it becomes futile. So what's going to happen is the United States will have the Iron Dome or the Golden Dome up and running. So any kind of counterattack from ballistic missile will be moot. So, but the thing is that there will be a nuclear detonation that's going to happen on the North American continent, whether it's Canada or the United States. It will happen because that happening will be the reason why we have to get the Golden Dome up. That'll be like the argument settling event. So, it has now happened. So now we put the Golden Dome up. Once the Golden Dome is up, okay, a politician's going to run on like some Protect the Children platform. And it's going to happen at a time when the American people are very anti-Israeli policy, which is kind of like right now. It's slowly opening. Hence my comments of, has anybody noticed that the feed has been getting a little bit more anti-Israel than it used to be? They're galvanizing us. It's happening. We're becoming anti-Israel. So why is it important to be anti-Israel? Because that new politician that wants to protect the children, well, he's going to want to balance the budget, right? He's going to want to take care of the American worker, the taxes. And how are we going to do that? We're just going to save some money. We're just going to stop sending some money to some foreign wars. And the American opinion is not very strong on Israel. So how's about we start cutting our Israeli funds? Like maybe we're done with this, right? And so that politician is going to run on that platform as well. So it's like a double bonus. We're going to protect the kids and we're going to save some money from wars. That motherfucker's going to win. And then it's going to happen. It's just, then there'll be no more Israel. Because then there'll be boycott, divest, and sanction. So the American politics, it doesn't matter what the American people do. I always say, remember that Starbucks just means bucks for the star. So if you actually want to boycott Israel, stop buying Starbucks. Start with that one, right? Boycott Starbucks. They have apps. Scan your barcode at the grocery store. It'll tell you if that item is made in Israel. If it's made in Israel, put it back, find one that's not. Boycott Israel. That's what people do. Divesting is what companies do. You take your investment in Israel and you sell it. You sell the assets, you take the money and you reinvest it somewhere else. So you divest your investment out of Israel. Hey, so the people boycott the product. The companies divest in the investing into the country, and the governments, well, buddy, they sanction it. So they apply sanctions against Israel. Now you need a political person that's not bastardized and not caught up in that black web of pornography. And so one of two things, either they have to be as squeaky clean as a whistle so that they cannot be blackmailed, or we as the population just have to agree to a particular level of smut being allowed within a politician's life. And we draw the line, the children. So if you got something against if you've touched the children, then you can't be a politician. But dude, like if you like to wear leather and you just would prefer it if the rest of the world didn't know it, and you thought that actually changed people's opinion of you in the political sphere, as adults, we're just going to say, no, just make sure we don't hurt the kids. When that opinion, that sociological opinion, when that takes root, how dark the politician's history is with this or that may not matter as much as it gets harder to pay for food, right? As life gets harder and harder for the citizen, we're just going to make some concessions on our politicians, which is why a lot of time during the big wars, a lot of those big politicians, they were drunks because they were just the best generals of the time, right? They were just the best choices we had at the time. That's going to happen. Yeah. And it's going to be very, very anti-Israel. And then I don't know how it's going to I don't know if we are going to attack Israel and just be done with it and be like, our bad, fuck, we'll go clean up our mess? Or if we're going to piss off Russia enough, because this is what's going to happen, guys. This is all that's going to happen. And if we're ready for it, and if we understand the global politics and geopolitics, we don't have to rush to war. Nobody ever said that you actually had to care if Israel won or lost the war. They just asked you to pay attention to it. They asked you to develop an opinion of it, but they never really said you absolutely had to care if Israel lost. And this is how I think it's going to happen. Because the United States can't actually outwardly take out Israel without making themselves look bad, what they're going to do is they're going to do a ridiculous cash and weapons push into Ukraine so that the Ukrainians upset the Russians more and more and more, and they keep upsetting the Russians with American dollars so that the Russians get upset with the United States. Now, the Russians, they're not going to want full-out war, right? So the Russians, they're not going to nuke the United States because that means the United States is going to nuke Russia. Nobody fucking wants to play that game. But the United States did take out Iranian nuclear facilities, and now Iran is not really capable of making a nuclear weapon. So they're going to have to acquire a nuclear weapon. And just like the United States and Canada, like I said earlier, gave everything to Ukraine, the Ukrainians pushed into the Russians, they're going to sell a nuke to Iran. They're going to sell a nuke to Iran, and Iran's going to nuke the shit out of Israel. And the question is, do we care? Because if we don't care, there is no World War III. It's just over.
That goes back to 1953. If you remember in history, over 70 years ago, Iran nationalized their oil, and that's when the coup happened.
Yeah.
And anytime a country like Iran or Iraq or Syria or Turkey that wants to nationalize their oil, who wants a big piece of that? UK, US. Oh, no. How do you take it? How do you take the oil that's centered in Iran?
Oh, it'd have to be a massive pipeline.
You go to the United States, say, hey, look, we're on problems here. Wait, can't get a piece. Can't get a cut of the pie. Can you help us? Sure, no problem. What do you need to do? We need to get rid of this guy who's been putting about the people. Okay,
You're talking about we need you to help us do a regime change in so many words.
Yeah.
And they're trying to put his son in. They're trying to bring the Shah's son out of exile to replace the Ayatollah with him.
Well, the thing is, the nuclear thing.
Now that's funny.
The nuclear thing is kind of equivalent to the oil. Now, my question is, what if Iran is taking its nuclear and not making weapons, but using it for clean energy? Clean energy.
Yeah,
well, I mean, there are distinctly different processes, but can we really, at this point, trust that the United States government is going to tell us that those facilities, those nuclear facilities, were for energy R&D or military purpose R&D? They're not going to tell us. They're just going to tell us these were nuclear sites.
As much
just
as
like they told us that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction when they couldn't even barely make soap.
Right. As much as I want to protect Iran in this context, as much as because people would call me like an apologist or whatever. Right? As much as I would love to protect them here, the evidence very, very, very much does point to they were making a weapon. It's just because in order to have like a civilian sector, right, energy, when you have your nuclear reactor, and then you need energy to power the reactor, right? So what they do is they make their own, right? So that's why a nation has centrifuges to begin with, is to make this so that they have the energy to power the reactors. Now, most countries, and you guys can, and this is how I knew that, like, fuck, I know that it's being used for weapons the exact same way the American government knows that it was being used for weapons. So in the United States, there's like, I'm not going to invent numbers, but I do know that there's a shit ton of nuclear reactors throughout the entire nation, but the entire nation has one centrifuge processing area for all of them. Okay. Same applies to Russia. There's a few nuclear reactors and so on and so forth. Russia has a bank of them. Again, only one of these processing places. Okay. So the countries that have the bombs, the countries that have, they only got one, right? And when you enrich uranium, whatever the fuck it is, there's guys out there that are smarter than me. Most of the time, even the big boys, we go like to 20%, right, enrichment, and with 20% enrichment, you can get like a very dirty fuel, like something just to power the reactors, to do what you need to do. 20% apparently is sufficient. Weapons grade is 90%.
Yeah, it's the bare minimum.
Yes, and weapons grade is 90% and above, and Iran was enriching to 60%. And the physics states that getting to 20%, it's the hardest part. Once you're at 20, moving forward throughout the percentile increases. It's just a matter of just keeping the shit spinning. And it just kind of does the job. And it gets from 20 to 60, 60 to 90 at a faster rate than it goes from 0 to 20.
Yeah, because it's just about a matter of getting the momentum going. That's the hardest part.
Right. So here's the grand fuckery of it all. Okay. Iran has one nuclear reactor, the Dimona. Now, most countries that have one nuclear reactor, they don't have a centrifuge. They just buy it from a country that has it, right? So, like, for instance, we just buy it from the Americans. We have nuclear reactors in Canada. We don't have centrifuges. We just buy our shit from the States. Fuck it. You guys make it. You guys make tons of it. We just buy it off of you. And we, in turn, sell you the power that it makes, right? It's the same thing that we do with the oil. We sell you crude oil for cheap. You guys process it into usable fuel, and you sell it back to us for cheap. So both sides play cheapo with each other. And that's the agreement that Donald Trump said that we were screwing the Americans on. But he was never factoring in what we were doing with the power, where we were selling our hydroelectricity power cheaper as well. Anyway, that's fucking nonsense. The point here that I'm getting at is that Iran has one nuclear reactor and 2 centrifuges. And there's no reason to have one, and even the big boys don't have 2. So the only reason you'd have 2 is you're centrifuging the fuck out of the shit to make sure that you have weapons grade. And I don't blame them. They're trying to make the bomb. They want to be left the fuck alone. And that's why Russia's cozying up. That's why they're like,
they're both in the same boat.
Isn't that crazy?
You got NATO infringing on Russia's borders, and you got Israel pressing hard on Iran. And both Russia and Iran are just like, dude, we just want to be let the fuck alone.
Yeah, and they could push back, and they haven't yet. Not substantially.
Like, let me watch American Idol in peace, bitch.
Crazy? Is that as crazy as Iraq military buying thousands of PS2s to create a supercomputer and shit back in the day?
Well, yeah, because they're probably trying to put together their own internet.
Probably. I mean,
they bought thousands of Sony PlayStation 2 consoles to create a supercomputer.
Yeah, can you imagine what we could do now with the PS4 and the PS5s and that shit? Like,
well, I mean, look at what you and I were talking about a while back, Connor. Back in the 1960s, we allegedly transmitted a live video feed from the moon to the televisions on Earth in real time using technology and supercomputers that were the equivalent of a modern day Nintendo from the 80s.
An 8-bit, they said they did it on 8 bits of computing power. Well, an 8-bit computer is a fucking Nintendo. Like, that puts it into perspective. That's fucking Duck Hunt. We went to the moon with Duck Hunt.
Yeah, I mean, so is it really that far-fetched to think that Iraq was trying to make a supercomputer with a PS2?
It's not. To me, it's not far-fetched at all, because they would be trying to do anything they could to offset the battlefield. Because I really do believe, and this is gonna sound ignorant as fuck, but I really do believe that all sides involved right now that are involved with killing are actually trying to not kill as many people. Hence the getting the supercomputer, using hackers, strategic military strikes. It's like nobody wants to set the world on fire, but it's like through our actions of not wanting to set it on fire, it's just going to get set on fire anyway. It's and like the whole reason why I went to that breakdown for Hamas was that Israel's defense, because the whole like them killing civilians, the Israeli defense is, well, you have to understand, I have to kill the civilians because you see Hamas, well, they use human shields, and we can't get to them because they got human shields. So Hamas,
we got to eliminate the shields in order to get to Hamas. Just like Skynet wiping out all of humanity. It was like, okay, I can wipe out my creators, but there's always going to be somebody else to take their place. Solution: kill all humanity, eliminate the line. And when it comes to Israel,
that's being sold to us with a face.
Yeah, and
like,
Targeted by Narcs just pointed out that we'll see the building of the third temple in Jerusalem very soon because the Zionists see Trump as their own King Cyrus. Oh, and I said it before. I think, Trump is not a king. He's not a fucking dictator or anything like that. At least not yet. I were to entertain any prospect, is he might be the Antichrist. Having gotten shot, what does the Bible say in Revelation about the beast rising out of the ocean? One of its heads will be wounded by the sword, and everybody will be like, who can contend with the beast? And what happened with Trump? Trump got shot in the ear, and everything he's been doing, and all his supporters are like, who can contend with Trump? Trump is so great. Who can contend with Trump? That's some Antichrist shit right there.
And the difference is that he's not the big man, but he's the one that's ushering it in. He's the one because when she said that about King Cyrus, like I don't know if she noticed or saw what, like I saw this a while back, like when he did it, but like he made he's the one that made Jerusalem the capital. He declared that Jerusalem was being moved, the capital was being moved to Jerusalem, and nobody could say or do anything about it. It's a whole lot like the fucking Roman there that said that Christ was king because he decreed it and not because of anybody else. Well, he said Jerusalem is now the capital. When he did that, you got to remember, Trump loves building things, big buildings. He loves real estate. He loves architecture. That's his thing. When he's not campaigning for president, he's reading blueprints. That's what Trump is. He made a sizable donation to build the third temple to the point that like these motherfuckers already have the red heifers picked out for the sacrifice.
Yeah, they already have them.
Okay, and
a lot of people thought it was going to happen back during the Passover this past year.
It may have happened. It would be a very secret ritual if it did. But so here's the fucked up thing, though. When she brought up King Cyrus, is that when Donald Trump did the generous donation, a financial donation to help build the third temple, they made a fucking coin that on one side has Donald Trump's face and on the other side has Cyrus's face. And this is a coin that is used for whatever the ritual may be throughout the temple, but it's a currency that's being used for inside the third temple, and Donald Trump's fucking face is on it.
Yeah, I heard that too, Targeted by Narcs. She said that Trump had converted to Judaism. I don't know if that claim is substantiated, but I have heard that.
He doesn't have to convert to Judaism. There's an entire segment of people called Christian Zionists.
Yeah.
Right? Like regardless of the religion, anybody who tells you with a straight face that they are actively working towards making heaven a place on earth. That's a Zionist. The religious scriptures state that the world will come to an end and that God will make it new, and that will be heaven on earth. Like the scriptures state that we don't go to heaven; heaven comes to us. It's a whole lot like Mexico, New Mexico, in that way. They didn't go to the United States. The United States came to them. The line changed. People have a hard time wrapping their head around this. When we die, we do not go to heaven. We just kind of chill for a little bit. And then when this thing gets destroyed, apparently the big man upstairs makes this heaven. And then we all get to have fun, and it's heaven. Yay! But
Yeah.
if you read the book says that like heaven will be created for us. That's why Jesus had to die. That's why Jesus had to leave. He had to go and prepare our kingdom for us, and tra-la-lee, tra-la-la. Okay?
Yeah.
We believe that heaven will be created by our Creator for us in the time when the time comes. Zionists are saying, well, we're just going to start preparing heaven on earth, negating the sheer fact that the whole thing's going to burn when the big man opens the seventh seal.
Yep. And, a lot of people say that that the globalists are trying to cause the end of the world, to try to force Christ to return.
Yes.
And Targeted by Narc said the Christian Zionists are part of helping bring the New World Order along with the Jesuits. And the Catholics call what you pointed out called the purgatory. And the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, call it paradise. And the Jehovah's Witnesses say you just go to sleep until it's time to wake up.
Pretty much. And the only people that have it rationally right these days, and I think the only reason why they have it rationally right is only because they're actively dedicating their sincere faith, their sincere sincere repentance. Like there's a very specific spot where the human soul has to lie for the big man to be like, yo, I hear you, and I know it's fucking lonely down there, and I got you. It's got, in my opinion only, the Messianic Jews. These are the Jews who have decided that Jesus is the Messiah and he is coming back. I gotta let you guys go for right now.
All right, no problem. We'll continue this on. Where I would like to take this now is with Trump doing what he's done. He kind of just opened the floodgates back up to pedophilia, I think. And, before we can move forward, we got to take a look back at where it came from. One thing I've always wondered is I thought, with this movement, that we all knew that pedophilia was their end result, but I never thought in a million years that they would just go full on, pedal to the metal, gun for the finish line. I thought it'd be incrementally, it's like, well, okay, we'll legalize interracial marriage, then we'll normalize homosexuality, then we'll legalize gay marriage, and then it'd be a gradual progression.
It got worse. It got really worse in the early '80s. Early '80s, because if you look at the Presidio in San Francisco, very heavily in pedophilia.
Yeah.
If you remember Michael Aquino, Army general who was stationed at the Presidio, he was a Satanist and a pedophile.
Yeah. Most of them are.
But all the documents were upstairs above the daycare, and they got burnt. Every record got burnt. Then months later, the daycare got burnt.
Yeah. Yeah, but you would think like they'd be very careful about this. That they wouldn't just rush into it because people aren't ready for it. Like no, that's too far. No. Kind of like what's happening now. Society's just like no, we're not okay with that. But I thought maybe it'd be a little more. A much slower process of incrementalism. It's like you have the gay community, and you have a bunch of subsects within the gay community, many of which who are straight, like maybe trans people or furries or whatnot. There's a lot of people within those who are furries or even bronies who would ascribe to the LGBTQ community or even just support it. And we notice that with the LGBTQ community as a whole being utilized to push pedophilia, I was thinking initially it was just going to be an incremental thing. It's like, okay, maybe use the furries to, maybe normalize and eventually legalize bestiality. Now, most furries, and I've asked quite a few furries about this, are strongly opposed to bestiality. The community as a whole is anti-bestiality. But I often thought that maybe that the furry community was going to be used as a catalyst, a starting point to normalize bestiality, and then maybe things like incest, and then that would segue into normalizing and legalizing pedophilia, under the guise of, incest is legal. A father fuck his daughter, or a brother and sister, a brother who just turned 18 is still fucking his sister who is 16, 17, lead that to eventually, gradually normalizing and legalizing pedophilia. I thought it'd be incremental. So I'm trying to understand in my brain here how somebody got it in their head to go, hey, let's just gun for the finish line and just normalize pedophilia and just jump the pond entirely. And for the record, I'm not bashing furries or bronies implying that they are for any of these things. I'm just saying, I'm just making an observation that I thought that this was going to be how it played out. And it played out much differently. And let's not mince words. The LGBTQ community as a whole and everybody associated with it has been used to push this agenda, whether they like it or not. Like Targeted by Narcs has pointed out, there's pro-pedophile infiltrators in every aspect of these communities, whether gay or straight or otherwise. They just want to normalize pedophilia. They want to hurt the little kids. And I gotta wonder why they just jumped the gun, knowing full well that it would probably most likely backfire in their face. I mean, if you move too quickly, the whole system blows up in their face. Because I thought their whole idea was conquest. I thought the globalist motto was global dominance through incrementalism. One baby step at a time. Because otherwise you get like Adolf Hitler or other dictators who moved too quick and shot themselves in the foot and got themselves overthrown. So it was conquer through incrementalism. I thought that was how they were going to play their game.
I think that's kind of equivalent to trying to jump the pond before the shark bites you.
Yeah. But, moving forward, can we say that, considering they jumped the gun and it blew up in their face, is this whole thing with what Trump did with Pride Month in the LGBTQ community and the whole trans thing, is that him just dialing it back to appease the masses because the globalists moved too quickly, too fast? And now with this suppression of the Epstein files and the involvement with Israel, it's them gradually starting to sneak and move forward just a little bit and just get back to doing things incrementally.
I think when that interview with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, they said, "Oh, I was in files. He killed himself." Come on, man. Bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, like anybody's gonna buy that shit. You know, especially
they know
those within the Republican ideals. Yeah, especially within the Republican ideals or the MAGA party. Nobody buys that shit. Nobody believes Epstein killed himself, especially when you release a video saying, "Oh yeah, here's a video showing that Epstein didn't, that Epstein killed himself," and you show a hallway. You show a hallway 3 hallways away from his cell. Oh yeah, that's great evidence. Like they're trying to make an ass out of themselves.
That's like the death,
like, are you?
That's like the death of Anne Hesh. Did she kill herself? No, she was murdered, dude. They killed her. They killed Anne Hesh.
But even at that, you know, the evidence that they're propagating, everything they're putting forward is literally just screaming, "Hey, look at us, we're idiots." It's like they're trying to make themselves look stupid. They're trying to discredit themselves. They're trying to shoot themselves in the foot. It's like,
look at the list. Look at the list of people that have been killed. Sean Hastings, reporter. Paul Walker, actor.
it's like me taking this fart gun and pulling the trigger and shooting the fart gun in my face.
Chester Bennington. I mean, musicians, you know. Dude, Epstein did not kill himself, man. He was moved.
No, any more than Princess Diana died in an accidental car accident. We know it was all deliberate.
Yeah.
And you know, it kind of makes me wonder. You know, Trump was like on this anti-bandwagon. Now I think he's actually going to be moving forward pro and allowing this incrementalism back. I do not believe that Trump is on the side of the American people. I have not believed that for a long time. I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. I really did.
I never did.
I never did anyway. But the first thing that fucking tipped me against Trump was when he brought in Elon Musk. Because, you know, I'm firmly against Elon Musk and his development of AI and robotics and all of that. You know, we've had that discussion in the past. So I was not happy that he brought in Elon Musk. But now I would honestly say, you know, the job that Musk did with Doge, he did pretty damn good. Say, I stand with Elon Musk and what he's saying against Trump and the stance that he's taking. It's like, dude, I cannot honestly believe that I'm saying it, but I'm actually on Elon Musk's side on this. Because Trump is just making a complete fucking ass out of himself.
About Musk.
And it seems like he's doing it on purpose.
There's a rumor going around for a while now that the Tesla Pi phone is being made. Now, I'm gonna doubt this because, you know, I mean, I'm not buying this Tesla phone bullshit, you know.
Yeah. I have a coworker I can ask about it. Like he's Elon Musk's biggest fan. Like we made jokes about it, and he said it himself that he would fuck a Tesla.
There's something I want to do.
This is not us saying this to him. He said it himself. My coworker said he would fuck a Tesla if given a chance.
There's something I want to do.
Like, okay, that's creepy.
Now, we all know that after we did the interview last week, it went up like boom.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
yeah, it went
my
viral.
friend. Now she's been rising like really climbing, but in the style of playing 4D chess. Okay. Her sub number is 370. 370, folks.
Yeah.
To his 329.
To his detractor being her detractor being 329.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Okay.
327 in subs. No. 370. 370. 370 subs, ladies and gentlemen. By over 45 subs. Man, she's climbing, man. She's climbing.
Yeah. So let's not mince words, you know. Our voice, however small, is reaching people. And our reach is growing. And we need to continue to grow this. In particular, I want to get off this fucking platform, this fucking StreamYard bullshit. I'm thinking we're gonna maybe transfer over to Rumble. I'm gonna look into that this week. Because they're not letting us play videos. They're wanting to charge me for uploading videos or even trying to play videos. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like last week, everything was fine. Everything would work. I can upload and play whatever I needed to. This week, I can't do shit. So I'm wanting to get off this fucking thing. Maybe go over to Rumble. I mean, if I have to make some investments to verify accounts and buy a reasonable subscription, fine. I'll do that down the line. But I'm also going to be opening a merchandise store. I've been looking into a few prospects. We're going to put out merchandise such as t-shirts, coffee mugs, hats, that sort of thing. And we're going to promote that and try to help supplement to fund and help us grow. This isn't about making money. More or less what I want to do is I want to be able to fund the operation.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't care about making money in this. Okay, I've been doing this for the better part of 15 years. It was never about making the money. It was about, waking people up, being the voice of the resistance, uniting people. We know what the mission statement was. Okay, it's always ever been about the mission. Because when I die, I'm going to die regardless, whether by the hand of the globalist or of old age. I look at it this way: this world is temporary. So for me, the life that starts after death, that's where the real world starts. That's where real life starts. And I want to enter that knowing that I did everything I could to fight against evil in this world. I'm not perfect. I'll tell you what. I am a sinner in the utmost right. Yeah. I am as deserving of damnation as anybody else. But if nothing else, for me, I want to, even if I fail in every other aspect, I honestly want to be able to say that I did my best and fought the good fight to be a Paul Revere, to be the guard on the watchtower, watching for the signs and warning the people when the prospect of danger approaches. I want to say that I at least, if I fuck up in every other regard, I can at least say that I did my job right. So, but these systems, they don't make it easy for us, and I'd like to be able to at least fund this operation to where we can adequately produce an adequate production and grow our audience and further our voice and our influence and get information out there better. I mean, we're off to a pretty good start.
Oh yeah.
But it's time to press a little bit on the gas. So I'm going to set up the store. Hopefully I'll have that up within the next 2 weeks or so. Right. The next week to 2 weeks. And we're going to try to get on Rumble. We're going to look at either Rumble or a few other streaming sites that would probably be better. Revan, you and I can get together and talk about that later. I got a few other people that do streams as well that I can talk to and see what they use. and see if it would be beneficial to us.
Yeah, because it's time to branch out, man. It is, man. It is time to branch out.
Yeah. Well, it's not just about branching out. It's about being able to deliver even just the product. You know, as I was telling a friend of mine the other day, in business, it's about producing a good product. Okay, your business is your product, and you know, like Alex Jones, his whole claim to fame is tomorrow's news today. He's accurate 99% of the time. Right? Our claim to fame is, and we're trying to sow unity, not division. Okay?
Yeah.
That's our business model.
That's what. Yes, that is what's needed, man. It is.
Yeah. Yeah. But unfortunately, the system doesn't exactly make it easy for us. So we're going to set up this online store to where people can buy some cool ass merch, show their support, and help support the podcast, help us grow, and produce a quality product and reach a broader audience.
Before I get off the air, there's something I want to bring up.
Dude.
We all know what phone I'm carrying. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a Graphene OS device, the phone. Catalonia, a country in Europe, is claiming unconfirmed claims that the Google Pixel phone and the Graphene OS is a device for terrorists, spies, and murderers, and all the other bullshit, you know. And
wow.
Now,
that's a bold statement.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now the thing is, coming from me, I've been using this phone for 6 months. Okay, for 6 months. What this phone does have, and what it does, okay. Here's the absolute one difference. Okay, updates. Okay, updates. iOS, Android. And we're saying the stock Android. They update whenever scheduled, but sometimes never tells anybody. Graphene OS updates multiple times a month.
And it lets you know.
Yeah. It will update at least 10 to 15 times a month. It updates. I would say, look, drop your iPhone, drop your stock Android, get a Graphene OS on a Pixel phone, man. Because it does something that not even the iPhone or even the stock Android does. Get the power back in your hands, folks.
And just for the record, they're not sponsoring Revan or myself. This is just something that Revan found that he's trying to share with other people. He found it to be beneficial.
Graphene OS is a non-profit. It's a non-profit, non-government organization. Dang.
Yeah, and they're not sponsoring you. You're not getting paid for this. You just happen to find something cool that is a good thing that people in the activist community can use.
Journalists, bloggers, anybody in the underground like us, I use it. I've been using it for 6 months. I love this phone. It's damn good, man.
Yeah.
Plus, it has better App Store where it's worth having. No. Plus, the term sandbox means the app will not touch the phone system. It will not fuck with it because sandbox means sandbox. SANDBOX. So, check it out for yourself. There's also Calyx, CALYX, Lineage, Linux, you name it. You know.
Yeah.
So drop your iPhone in the toilet, flush it.
Did you say drop your dick?
No, drop your iPhone in the toilet.
You almost said drop your
I
dick.
wish. Drop your Android. Get a Pixel with a ROM like Graphene OS, dude. Because here's the thing, I talked to my dear friend of getting one, and she has one.
Nice.
She went from an iPhone to a stock Android to a ROM, a phone with a ROM on it, Graphene OS.
Okay, and how do you go about activating it? Do you go through a cell phone provider like Xfinity, Verizon, or whatever?
No. You could get it on what it is. The phone is factory unlocked. That means no carrier. It's unlocked for any carrier. Graphene OS, you can throw in your like if you have AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile or Boost Mobile, throw it in there. You're good to go.
Okay. That'll work.
You get it on eBay. Got mine.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and call it. We're nearly at 2 hours on this, and I gotta check my phone. So, on behalf of Connor, thank you, Revan. For everybody watching, thank you for having tuned in. If you're watching this, you are the resistance.